Hello and welcome to the Ilene Silverman Show. I'm your host, Ilene, and on this week's program, members of the Gainesville Women's Club discuss the rich history of this community organization, the campaign to preserve the legacy of the Clubhouse for future generations, and the opportunity for you to be involved as a member. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for our program. I'm delighted to introduce my guest, Angela Terrell, member, Gainesville Women's Club, Education Libraries Co-Chair. And Angie, as always, it's wonderful to have you here.
It's my pleasure to be with you tonight.
Well, we've enjoyed a long friendship, and one of the many areas we've had in common is our members of Gainesville Women's Club.
Absolutely.
And I cherish that. And when did you get started as a member of GWC? Take us back to that.
Sure. Actually, under the leadership of Margaret Gilliland, she was a mentor for me. And this was back 2011 through 2013. She served as president of Gainesville Women's Club. And one day she took me out to lunch. And she let me know that I would be joining the Gainesville Women's Club.
I can see it. I love it. Yes.
If you know her, right?
Yeah.
And so, I knew that they stood for something really great in the community and all of that kind of thing, but I had not personally been a part. And so I became a member. And then the following years, when she stepped down from her presidency, she was over the Signature Project.
Right.
And of course, I worked with her on that. But what I'd really like to share with you is
this
organization has been around for more than a century.
It's
more
phenomenal.
Than a century.
Take us back. Take
think-
the picture of
about
what it
this.
was like
when
this organization started.
Well, think about this.
1903.
Women were not allowed to vote.
Right. And not going to higher education.
No higher education.
Not doing much out of the house.
Nothing much out of the house.
Everyone was referred to by their husband's name.
Yes, ma'am. You would be Mrs.
Right.
Whatever your husband's name is.
Right.
So, and even with those kinds of things happening, for the Gainesville Women's Club to come along and provide an outlet for women who were so stifled in their lives.
Right.
It's so important.
A leadership outlet.
A social outlet. And they did many amazing things during that time. This organization is known for starting preschool programs like kindergarten.
And the first public library. Think about that. It was visionary.
Yes. And that's why it's just so important to me and such an amazing task for me to be over education and libraries.
And that, of course, is your background, Duval Elementary,
I'm a
Caring
retired
and Sharing
educator.
School. Yes.
And through this organization, many wonderful things have happened through the Signature Project and through the Education and Libraries Committee.
Share that with us, please.
When I was the Fine Arts Director at Duval Fine Arts Academy, I spoke to Margaret and Cindy Catlin, who were co-chairing at that time the Signature Project, and I told them about the dire need for instruments because we had this vision of an elementary school band.
Right.
When we haven't had one in the public school system here in Alachua County since the early 60s.
Wow.
And so you don't tell her something and don't get it done. Margaret jumped right on it. We had this amazing fundraiser by the Signature Project. We raised over $25,000.
I remember.
We purchased the instruments for that Fine Arts Academy. What joy.
Yes.
And of course, she moved on from that, and her next piece was, at that time it was the Education Committee.
Right.
And now we've also added libraries. And during that time, I had retired from the Alachua County Public School System and had moved on to Caring and Sharing Learning School. She wanted to know how could we help the kids in Alachua County system. I said, they need help in reading. reading needs to be fun, because at the present time, everybody's just studying for this thing called the FCAT.
Right.
She said, we can do that. So we started something called the Star Book Club, STARR.
Right.
It stands for Students Taking an Active Role in Reading. The first charter group was started at Caring and Sharing Learning School. It went extremely well. We had this awesome end of year event at the downtown
I was
library.
part of
You
it.
were
I got to
there.
read.
We
It was
we
it
dressed
was-
in storybook
Yes,
costumes.
it was
We took the
wonderful.
kids there. What an awesome activity.
And then we got to sit with a little group
We got to
and
sit
share
with the little
ideas.
groups and share. And then we've expanded that now. We've moved on and we've moved it to Rollins Elementary School. Before the pandemic, we had 2 or 3 meetings, and we had to stop, of course, because of the pandemic. But we're looking forward to 21, 22, because we're going back into the schools to do this again, and other schools are asking for this activity.
I think it really speaks well of Gainesville
It speaks
Women's Club
well.
and exemplifies their mission.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know, they reach out to the community. We have so many community outreach programs. We have helped. We've helped the Girls Club, Girls Place.
Right.
We helped the Guardian Angel dog,
Right.
Angel Dog.
Yes.
We purchased a golf cart for them.
And
we have
the opportunity for the Northeast Park,
the Northeast Park,
which you raised quite
quite
a
a
lot
few
of funding.
dollars.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, they have put a momentum there in our honor and in
remember.
Margaret's honor.
Yes.
For the wonderful work that the Gainesville Women's Club has done for that.
Well recognized.
And-
you know, we have much more to cover, but Angie, we're going to take a quick break.
Sure.
Stay with us.
Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be right back. We're back talking about the Gainesville Women's Club, and I'm pleased to introduce Renae Clements, first Vice President. And Renae, thank you for joining us also. I mean, there are so many positive things to be saying about the Gainesville Women's Club, and you're a longtime member. We value you.
It's a pleasure to be back with you, Eileen.
Thank you. We've had many Ilene Silverman shows about the Girls' Place, and now you're
We
retired,
have.
yes, executive director, but still well known to many in this community. And I applaud you for devoting time and energy to the GWC.
Thank you. It is indeed my pleasure now that I'm retired.
Now you can
Right.
volunteer more. Well, and there's great ways. Angie talked about all that the Women's Club is doing for the community, but then we also have lots of activities within the club membership itself.
Let's not forget the social part and the
No,
friendship.
never.
Eileen, some of the friends that I made back in 1970 with the Junior Women's Club are still my lifetime friends.
Oh, that's
It's just a
meaningful.
marvelous way to have social activities for a long, long time in your life.
It's quite meaningful. And sometimes
is.
it's hard these days to make and cultivate friendships. And it means so much in our life.
Oh, granted that. But we have 5 major events at the Women's Club where everyone is invited. Of course, it's
Right.
luncheons and brunches and champagne holiday events. But in the meantime, there are committee meetings too that are very important. Now,
And then,
as a member, you can pick and choose where you'd like to serve. And there are excellent activities as creative cooking, and they have a different theme every month.
oh,
Right, and
great
we're
opportunities.
very much involved in environmental awareness, which
So
is so
appropriate.
prevalent
It is.
in this
it
day
is.
and age. It certainly is.
So for people looking for an opportunity for membership, what you're saying is there are many different ways that you can be involved to serve the community and to explore opportunities for yourself, for your own self-growth.
Actually, we want to use your talents, but expand them. I received my leadership training in the Gainesville Women's Club and the Junior Women's Club.
So
I
you
would not have had
yeah.
the occupation that I did if I hadn't had the Gainesville Women's Club.
That really says a lot because you went on for, how long were you executive director of the Girls' Place? You started it from day one.
I
You were-
retired. I was the founding director, but I
Yes.
retired after 30 years.
Wow. So leadership training really means a lot.
It started in the Women's Club, in the Junior Women's Club, as I repeat myself, and I was president way back in 1978 and 79 of the Junior Women's Club. And that was a leadership training in itself.
Oh, I bet. I mean, such a history of this Gainesville Women's Club. When Angie was saying what it would have been like when women weren't even voting when this club was organized.
Well, right here in our hometown with our beautiful clubhouse, we're celebrating the 60th year of taking occupancy in that clubhouse. And you can't drive down University without looking at that beautiful property.
I agree.
And we want to preserve it.
5 glorious acres, a colonial style home, if you will, for many activities, for all kind of women's based events. It's an iconic structure.
Well, it's also for individual social events as well. I had my retirement party there.
Yes.
And I had my second wedding there too.
Yes. Harvey and I had our wedding reception there.
Right.
And everyone has their women's club story.
And memories, yeah.
Yes.
It's just a beautiful location to meet friends and enjoy activities and continue to learn.
Yes, and I'm so pleased. We're going to hear from Theresa Beachy later in the show more about the legacy campaign, but so important that we are preserving this legacy, the club and the clubhouse, and I value, as does everyone, your part, Renae. Thank you very much.
It is also rather a rejuvenation since we consider the pandemic being over.
Yes.
Since March, we have 20 new membership applications to consider.
Outstanding.
And we're just very excited about having these talented, enthusiastic women coming aboard to take part with us.
More people coming forward with more activities to be able to utilize and rent our glorious clubhouse that we talked about. And that means so much. It's all happening again.
It is.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
It's good to be here.
Yes, thanks. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're talking about the Gainesville Women's Club, and I'm pleased to introduce Melanie Barr, historic preservation consultant and historian for the Women's Club. And Melanie, it's wonderful to have you join us too. And first, you're so well known in this community for your passion in preserving buildings, and so applause to you for leading the opportunity for preserving our clubhouse.
Oh, my pleasure. I wanted to do it as soon as I thought there might be not a future for our building.
Right.
This is the youngest building I've ever tried to save.
Yes.
But it needs to be saved. You got to start somewhere.
I agree. Okay, give us a little more information, because you have researched this very carefully for a wonderful opportunity for this building that will be coming up on that November 14th donor recognition as we talk more about the legacy campaign. Tell us all about this.
Well, our club is actually 118 years old. It was founded in 1903, and it was kind of a radical organization back then, because men generally thought women should just be staying home and raising children and cooking, and they didn't like the fact that women wanted to gather together and meet and discuss Shakespeare and geography and other intellectual topics.
Right.
And
this was new.
This was
new ground.
This is something that was just sweeping the nation. In fact, the name of the club was originally called the 20th Century Club because it was so new. And
appropriate.
They met in each other's homes for 18 years to discuss all these topics that they never would have talked about before because they didn't get to go to college.
Right.
Very few women.
You have to really think of the place and the time this all began.
Right. And we were saying how women couldn't even vote.
Right.
One of the things they wanted to start was a library. We didn't even have a library. So the Women's Club is at the forefront, raising money, talking to the Carnegie organization, trying to get money, raising money themselves. They had to persuade their husbands to ask the city commission to put this to a vote, so the city commission put in their share to bring a public library here. And they did succeed in 1918.
Wow, and that's just, and it's grown and grown and grown from there. Everyone's been talking too about the educational opportunities from the fundraising of the Women's Club, and so that was kind of the initial
That was one of the initial pushes, and also very conservation-minded. They sent a letter in 1906 to the city commission and said, "Don't you cut down our landmark trees. These are trees that we want to preserve." And here's the Women's Club, couldn't even vote. They're trying to tell the city commission what to do with the trees.
And I love the determination.
And then later, you know how we have Spring Arts Festival on Northeast First Street and the big palm trees, and there was other trees. The city commission was leveling out First Street and removing the medians and cutting the trees. And the Women's Club said, "Oh, you're not doing that." And they paid to put the medians back, keep the medians. The Women's Club did that.
What a wonderful history.
And another thing they did was in 1913, they said, "We need more parks." So the Women's Club founded Roper Park right behind the Methodist Church in the Duck Pond neighborhood. And they donated $500, and at that time, $500 still sounds like a lot of money.
I know, but think back
now
then.
it's equivalent to $13,000. The Women's Club paid for the sidewalks. The Women's Club brought plantings. In fact, the president of the Women's Club lived right across the street from Roper Park. And it said, "Bring plants over to Mrs. Hill's house." So the Women's Club had a lot to do with our conservation, the environment, libraries, education. They're a powerhouse and still are.
They are. And this, go back to this marker that you worked so hard on. There's so much history. There's a front and a back to it. But it will be there in the front for everyone to see and
so people that don't know what the Clubhouse is, when they drive by, they'll go, "Well, that's an interesting building," but they aren't sure exactly what it is. The state historic marker will be out there right on University Avenue. People can pull over and read it, and they'll say, "Oh, the Women's Club," and they'll see what we do. We started out donating to Roper Park, and most recently we donated to Unity Park, $10,000.
It has continued. Yes.
It continues. We're evolving, but we're staying the same. Still,
with the mission is true to its core.
Right. It was founded in 2003, and it said for the intellectual and social improvements to Gainesville, and we're still doing that.
Well said. And that makes us proud, all of us.
And I would think everybody would want to join an organization that does that.
I think so. It's a great opportunity and a wonderful time for all of us to give our energy to the Gainesville Women's Club.
Our energy? Yeah.
Yes. And our donations.
And our donations.
We
That's
need
exactly
that too.
what I was going to say. It's a big building. It takes a lot to air condition it.
You're right.
And mow that lawn.
Thank you, Melanie, for sharing so much important information and all you do for this community. I appreciate your longtime friendship.
Thank you very much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back talking about the Gainesville Women's Club, and I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Theresa Beachy, Second Vice President for GWC. And Theresa, thanks for joining us. We've heard so much from Renae and Angie and Melanie, and talked a little about the legacy campaign, but hey, fill us in.
Well, we're so excited. As you heard, there's so much going on in the club, and we really just want to continue to inform the community about all the good that this service organization has done for the last century plus. And so the Preserving the Legacy campaign is something that we've just rolled out. A lot of people will be getting these amazing invitations. You can also stop by the Clubhouse Monday through Friday from 9 to 1 and pick one up if you didn't get one in the mail.
Right.
But it really gives people an opportunity to not only highlight how much this Clubhouse means, but what this club has done for our community. So we're really encouraging past members, their families, community partners, the community at large, anyone who's felt the impact of the Gainesville Women's Club to join us in making sure that this historic landmark and this club continue to be there for the next generation of women in Alachua County. We're so proud of the work that we've done, and we have so much more to do, and so we know that this can be a way for us to annually support the club, support the Clubhouse, and make sure that it's there for all of the things that people have been able to experience there, and will continue to do so moving forward.
Well said. I mean, everyone has more than one reminisce about that clubhouse. I do. That's where, when I married Harvey, that's where our wedding reception was. And that story's been retold countless times, plus many other sweet moments that have taken place at that clubhouse. So I think you're right. This is a good opportunity for all of us in the community, whether we're members, whether we're not, or a good call to action for people to join. Perhaps their membership lapsed, or perhaps they now have time in their life to give to the community through Gainesville Women's Club. So that's all a part of it, because there will be naming opportunities, right?
That's right. Part of the Preserving the Legacy campaign is not only to highlight the good work that the club is doing, but give people the opportunity on November 14th to join us for a wonderful donor recognition event that's going to have our historic marker unveiling that Melanie talked about. But it'll also give people the opportunity to find other ways to support the club, maybe larger than the donor amounts that we have identified on the website and in the invitation. If they want to do some naming for, again, those family members or themselves, that really they felt the impact of this club in the community.
Right. Again, I think that it is just a wonderful opportunity. You have a great committee you're working with for this legacy campaign.
We do.
Lynn Reed heading it up, and people that have come back like you. Everyone out there probably says, I know that woman, executive director of Peaceful Paths, but you're donating your time, what could be your free time, for the Gainesville Women's Club. What is it that excites you, that brings this passion to this opportunity?
I joined the juniors back in 1995 and really got super excited about the work that they were doing, and especially around the events and fundraising. Many of you remember the Festival of Trees that the Gainesville Junior Women's Club did for over 20 years. And we're actually bringing that fundraising event back this year. So with the 2021 Festival of Trees. We're so excited. And again, the fundraising is part of what allows the club to do the work in the community. So this year we're going to be selling 20 professionally decorated Christmas trees. There'll be a kickoff holiday party. There'll be a Santa's breakfast for kids. There'll be a girlfriend's brunch.
Oh, yes.
Keith will have his Keith Watson Events shop open for holiday giving. It's just going to be a great opportunity, and again, to support a charity in our community. The Catholic Charities Weekend Hunger Backpack Program is one of those great opportunities that we can really impact the lives of children in our community.
So that will be a benefit of our Festival of Trees.
Absolutely.
Years ago, I was MC for that for several years, and it's magical. I'm so glad you're bringing that back with the finesse of Keith Watson. I think it's a perfect fit. And I know there'll be other events after this, but well planned for early December, and a wonderful opportunity for people to come visit the clubhouse and experience the rich history and the memories just by being in there if it's been a while. So it is a great, your committee's doing some wonderful things. And just any last comments?
If you want to stop by the club again and pick up a legacy invitation, you can do that Monday through Friday from 9 to 1, or go on our website, thegainesvillewomensclub.org, and you'll be able to see all of the giving levels as far as learning about the events, how to buy tickets to all of the upcoming things for Festival of Trees, get your raffle ticket for the tree that we're going to be giving away. And we're just super excited to again, bring this aspect of the club back to the community.
Thank you, Theresa, and to all our guests for so much important information. And I hope I will see you at the Gainesville Women's Club Clubhouse. I'm so glad that you tuned in, and I hope you will join us next week. Take care.